Crouse.
I'm hesitant to use the word tolerance because
as I said it sounded
you know what
a
I
bit
mean.
heavy,
That's a
but yeah.
tough word,
Yeah.
and I think children don't have a problem with tolerance, or I'm more likely to use the word acceptance.
Right.
It's we adults who put that on children. They grow up, and even when I talk about young white kids, here in 2009, young white kids might have a black sibling, or a cousin, or just a really good friend or neighbor. It's important for them to be able to see that part of their world as well, because it's no longer a homogeneous world. And, when you think about something as simple as a school play, when a child wants to be in this school play and they're never cast as the princess because the person casting it never has that in their mind that that would be a possibility or a reality, maybe the next go-round it won't be that way. And it's quiet. It's quiet changes. It's a way of expanding a mind naturally. That, though way overdue, now that it's here, it's done with such love and such care and beauty. It's really thrilling, and more so that we won't have to talk about it again. It's just going to be part of the cadre of Disney and princess and fairy tale, and that is beautiful to me.
How did you become involved in the process then? Tell me a little bit about the audition and the steps leading up to it.
I had a general meeting with Disney in 2004. I was doing a Broadway show, and they saw me in the show and called me in. And that was just a sit down, hi, how are you, we see you, what are you doing? Then they were like, way down the pike, we may have a black princess coming up. We don't know what she's going to be, where she's going to be from. And I think that the concept at that point was very different. It had nothing to do with this in general. I, on the other hand, knowing that I had a Disney movie, in general, I had in my pocket like an arsenal of things that I was prepared to be. Literally, I was like, okay, I'm going in for Disney. I'm going to give them the voice of a tick. And I know what the flea or the tick does when it bites somebody. It's going to go, ning! Like, I walked in with that in my pocket. Nobody ever asked me. I was very disappointed that nobody asked me about my flea.
And you get a chance to do it now, which is
I do,
nice, yeah.
exactly. But, it wasn't... I wasn't walking in there having lofty dreams of royalty.
Right.
I was like, is there a blade of grass? Do you need it to whistle? Because I've got that. I'm ready for you. I was so wanting to be a Disney voice my entire life. So I went in for this general, and of course nothing came of it at the time. 2 years later, flash forward, we're about to open Dreamgirls, and this pops up. And they called me in again. And I read the sides, and I was like, oh my God, this is for me. I know this girl. This is... And then I had to calm myself and really just go in there without that feeling. But when you walk into that building and you look at those walls and you see the history of Disney, I don't know if you are geeky like I am when it comes to Disney, but I am.
You can't help but be.
Geeky.
You can't help but be.
I walked in that building and I started to shake a little bit, and I got teary. And anybody will tell you, they've been watching interviews and seeing me, I've been crying since this thing started because it moves me so very deeply. When you're living in the middle of your own fantasy, it's really amazing. You don't ever think, really. I mean, you think maybe your dreams will come true in some way, but to have it come true like this. So I'm walking through the halls, and I get a little misty and teary, and I took a minute for myself to get it together, go in, and I had my first audition with sides, which for people who don't do this is they give you scenes, and it's not ever, rarely the whole script. With Disney, it'll probably never be the whole script in an audition, because they don't want it to get out. So you have these sides with your lines and the person in the scene with you. I read those, and they told me to bring some music of the era, and this is jazz age New Orleans. And I must have brought in 10 songs with me. I think I sang about 5 or 6 of them, because I really was not, I didn't want for any reason to not get this part.
What do you remember? What the songs were, and or the artists?
I sang Miss Seeley's Blues from The Color Purple, Honeysuckle Rose from Ain't Misbehavin'. I can't think of what else I sang, but those were the first two that I had planned. And then I was like, do you need anything else? Because flip, 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 flip. But I was not going to walk out of that room not having brought my full arsenal, because I wanted it. And it's very frightening, I think, for me to want something with that kind of strength, because it's so hurtful then when it doesn't come your way. So I had two more auditions after that. The second one was I had a song by Randy Newman that I had to do, and basically they wanted to see how I interpreted that music and that sound. And the third audition, I had Different Sides, and I think the same Randy song again. And then I waited. God.
That's the hard part.
For this one, it was really hard. Sometimes you can just move on and divorce yourself and do what else you do. For this, I wanted this with every fiber of my being. And yes, it was hard. And I saw Randy at the Oscars that year, because I was performing at the Oscars, and I was like, "Hi, Mr. Newman," you know. And on the inside, I was like, "Please give me this job, please give me this job, please." But I refused to mention anything about it, except it was really nice working with you. Take care, have a great performance. And I was like, ah! So it was soon after that I found out that I had gotten it. But I'm telling you, it was one of the most wonderful triumphs, personally, career-wise, because it was something I really wanted.
Tell me a little bit then about what you'd like young girls to take away from this story, because I see Tiana as a good role model, but maybe someone who works a little bit too much.
She works hard, doesn't she?
She really does, which is a good thing. You want to engender that in kids. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, she has to enjoy life a little bit. So what do you want kids to take away from it?
Well, I do want them to take away the fact that dreaming big is not only possible but necessary. And I want them to know that you don't achieve those dreams without hard work, but that you also have to live. I think that to have a full life is very important. To not live single-sidedly is very important. To recognize love when it comes your way, to be able to receive it as well as give it, is very important. These are all wonderful messages. But I also think that for parents that are coming to see this movie with their children, to be able to look at your little one and say, "I believe in you," is most important, because you may not believe in the dream. You may not believe that they will get there or that way, but if they know that you believe in them, they have the wings to soar. That's what got me here. Somebody believed in me every step of the way. I believe in that.
Richard